Hey guys, and welcome to or back to the Pause in Pursuit podcast with your host, Summer Clark. So I'm being quite naughty today. It is currently Wednesday at 12:36. So I'm literally recording this nearly 7 hours before it goes live. I've just been so busy. I've been so busy, guys. Slightly overwhelming, but I am very grateful that I have lots on. I have actually restarted at my part-time job. So as most of you probably know, before my break for EO Casey and Dogs in Need, I had a part-time social media manager job. I was meant to start back pretty much as soon as I got back from Dogs in Need, but the company was undergoing some changes and job role switches and stuff. So I've actually only just started back. Luckily, because of the self-employed bits that I do, I was fine without the wage. Otherwise, I'd been really scared, I guess. But that job has started back now. It started back 2 days ago. So I'm doing that in the day, as well as my online coaching students, which I'm so grateful that people want to be coached by me. I'm really excited about that. Already been filming, planning their personalised programmes, getting tutorials filmed, just need to do the voiceovers. Their first programme will be in a week and a half. So if you would like to join the team and get coached by me, no matter what you would like to achieve with your dog, I will be able to help you. I will make you a personalised programme tailored specifically to you, your dog, and what you would like to achieve. So if you've got any goals or any events that you want to prepare for, etc., please do get in touch. I would love to have you. But yeah, and then also I have my social media business as well. So I have that. So I essentially have 3 jobs at the moment. So I'm really grateful, but I have been very busy. I usually record the podcast Tuesday night, but last night, by the time I was done with everything, it was tea time, ate my tea, and then I was like, you know what, I am ready for bed. So I went to bed. But here we are today. Wednesday's my day off. I trained Arrow this morning. He's a very good boy. We did lots of tunnels under A-frames, and he didn't go in a single tunnel instead of the A-frame. Can't believe it. Anyway, but without rambling too much more, let's do the weekly recap. So it's actually a really exciting weekly recap, guys, actually, now I'm thinking about it. Qualifying for quote-unquote Olympia. Oh my God, I'm still buzzing. So that was on Saturday. Me and Arrow went clear and came 7th out of, I think, 55 dogs, and it's top 10 that qualify for the London International Horse Show in December. So that is the Casey Stakes. And it's a bucket list thing that I wanted to qualify for. So tick, tick, I'm over the moon. Arrow was incredible. He was literally perfect. It was a flawless run. He listened so well. And it was a strange environment. It was very echoey, very loud. It smelt weird. First time we'd ever been there, but he was brilliant, bless him. The medium times were absolutely insane. I'm sure most of you saw it. First place was 34 seconds, somewhere in there. Second place was 35.1. 7th place, which was me, was 35.9. So there's 0.8 of a second between 2nd and 7th, which was me. And that really motivates me. I love that. That makes me think, oh my God, if I could eke less than a second more out of him. Do you know what I mean? That's the difference. So I don't know, I really kind of liked that. I thought, oh, that's exciting, how close the competition is. And obviously we're the top 10, so we're all going to be competing in the final. So it's going to be such an incredible, exciting final in London. I get to take my little spaniel to London, which is amazing. I mean, I was already going anyway. I'm there on the Wednesday, the 18th, I believe, for the medium ABC Crufts semi-final to qualify for Crufts, hopefully. And then back on the Sunday, the 22nd, I think it is 18, 19, 20, 22nd for the Casey Stakes final. So I'm absolutely buzzing. That went amazing. It was a really strange day, though, because I didn't actually run until nearer 3. No, 2:30. Yeah, it started at 2:30. I was running order 9. So I got my run out of the way with pretty much straight away, and then had to wait for the results for the next hour. I try not to look at them too much, but it's kind of addictive, isn't it? Coming through on Plaza. Anyway, because you can't really see that well from in there, so I just chilled in the van most of the time and walked Arrow. But it was a really strange but really memorable day, you know, not having to set off until like 11. No, 12. I set off I think we set off at 12 to get there for 12:45, was it? Something like that. Yeah, I think so. Anyway, yeah, it was just really weird, like, and then only having one run, it was bizarre, but I enjoyed it, and it was a great outcome. We then went down to Rory's, and we stayed, by we, I mean me and my mum and Arrow. We stayed at the Tidmarshes that night, went to the pub, celebrated, did all the things, and then the next day I was judging at Edge. So Edge is a brand new show, and it was amazing. It's Lydiard Park. I've actually never been there because, like I said, it's 3 hours and something away from me, whereas it's only 45 minutes from Rory, so we didn't have to get up as early, obviously. Didn't want to get up at like 3 a.m. But yeah, got there, set up, judged for the day. Happy with how my courses ran. Most of you have probably seen on my social media, I did a bit of discussing in the caption. So my 1 to 3, I was really pleased with it. It went down exactly as planned. I did get a couple of comments about the dog walk entry, even though it was perfectly safe. Like, I'm 100% happy that it was perfectly safe. Obviously, it's, you need to handle right? And to be honest, my biggest flaw is envisioning the most efficient way to handle a course, or how I would handle a course while I'm designing them. And then only 1 or 2 people actually handling it like that on the actual day, which I'm like, oh, what? So that happened in my 1 to 3. I honestly expected either a rear cross or a catch on the jump for the dog walk, or at least a tight left, or just a proper left turn queue on 11. Instead, handlers were running through and after the jump for the dog walk were trying to get a really late front or blind in, which was just bringing the dogs really wide. Yeah, so I never would have thought anyone would handle it like that, if that makes sense. So I couldn't have planned for that, but I think, you know, it's a learning curve. I think I'm only going to do like really obvious dog walk entries from now on, just so it's pretty much impossible for people to handle it weirdly, if that makes sense. But anyway, that was my first class, and then I learnt from that, and I changed my 4 to 5 course quite significantly, as shown on that map that I posted. It looks really compact, but it actually wasn't that bad at all. And this allowed for a wider variety of handling options before the dog walk, and that went perfectly. So yeah, planning for the approaches of lower grade or, you know, your inexperienced handlers is all part of growing as a judge, I think, and something that I'm grateful to have learnt this weekend. For my future appointments, I really need to get back into the headspace of an inexperienced handler. It's been forever since I actually experienced that. So yeah. But yeah, and again, a huge thank you to Amy for inviting me to judge. It was really cool, and my ring party, and I had a lot of extra helpers as well, which helped my ring run super smoothly. But yeah, overall, it was a really good but quite tiring weekend. But yeah, really cool, really good memories from that weekend, very memorable stuff. So that is pretty much the weekly recap. I don't think anything else. Oh yeah, and then obviously I started my job back on Monday. Well, kind of a new-ish position, but doing similar tasks all around, like the online stuff, social media, etc. So yeah, that's pretty much my weekly recap. I always have to check my calendar, which is really funny every time I do the weekly recap, because my memory apparently doesn't go back as far as a week. But anyway, I rambled for pretty much 10 minutes. So today we're going to be talking about competing at an unfamiliar event, and I'm going to give you my top 10 tips to do so. This was inspired by me qualifying for Olympia. Obviously, I've never done it before. So I'm kind of going to be telling you how to prepare for and compete at an unfamiliar event, or what I'm going to be doing to try and get the most out of my Olympia experience and do the best I can. So without further ado, let's get into it. Obviously, this can basically be, you know, this is for any event that you've never been to before, no matter how big or small. So my first tip is to research everything about the event. Okay, so, do the obvious, Google it, look on social media. Most events have a social media page of their own. And then obviously you'll get the rules on, for example, Olympia or Crufts is on the Kennel Club website. But if you qualified, you probably know that anyway. So you want to make sure you know all of the rules. You can have a look at previous schedules, so the archived schedules from the event from previous years, for example, or months, depending on how frequent this event is. So kind of look at the format of the event, the timings, how it works, stuff like that. Obviously, make sure you know where you're going. And once you know where the venue is, you want to be planning your travel. You want to know where you're parking. You want to know how long it takes from parking to the event, when you need to be there, etc., etc. Again, you probably won't receive proper information until nearer the time. So again, there's only so much you can do. For example, I don't know when my event actually is time-wise. I know what day and the venue, and that's pretty much it. So that you can't do everything really far in advance. But the more you can do, the less stressful the whole experience will be, basically. Because you're not going in as blind, if that makes sense. Then you can also look at previous people's videos of them competing there. So, you've got social media again, as I've already said. Then you've got YouTube as well. I used to do that when I first started, when I was running Earl and Ethel. YouTube people's videos from competitions that I haven't been to before. Especially if it's the same venue, you can get a look at, you can have a look at how it appears, what the ground looks like, for example, and what the courses look like, the equipment, stuff like that. Obviously, keep in mind that it's subject to change. It might not be the same as it has been, but you should get that information in due course. Just do as much as you can research-wise about the event in the build-up. That is what I'll be doing with Olympia. Number 2 is to ask people who have attended the event before or qualified for the same event this year what it's like and what they're doing to prepare. So, for example, I'll be speaking to people that have competed at Olympia in the past just to get their views on it, anything that they found particularly challenging, or anything like that, what they found with what they thought about the ground, the equipment, etc. And obviously I'll be watching videos and stuff. I mean, I've watched them before. I've always watched it on the live stream. But still. And then obviously people who've qualified for the same event or are attending the same event as you. So, for example, Olympia, I know the other 9 people who've qualified for my event. So I can sort of discuss things with them, ask what they're doing to prepare, what they recommend you do to prepare, especially if they've been there before. They'll have a good idea. And they'll probably have things that went well or wrong for them in the past, so that they can sort of guide you a little bit if they're willing to do that. I'm sure most people will be. Number 3 is to train in accordance with the specific event that you're competing at. So, for example, Olympia, you want to be making sure that you're training on sand in a big spaced out ring, courses that are probably a little bit more spread out, lots of running. So with that in mind, you might want to do some work on your handler fitness and dog fitness for, running in open spaces, sprinting around the edge of a ring, for example. You might want to work on your say sprints more than footwork drills in the build up, because you'll be doing more flat out running than changing direction and stuff like that. Then again, Olympia, big jump wings. So you've got to take into consideration that the wings are huge. Honestly, when I was walking the course at the Olympia semis on Saturday, I was just like, this wing is as big as me, and the jump poles seem really thick as well. It's bizarre. And then obviously you've got your big white blocky square rectangular, whatever you want to call them, wings with the snowmen and the Santas on and stuff. So that's another thing that I did at the semi-final, was make sure that I didn't run off too soon and leave Arrow to complete like a wing wrap on one of those weird wings by himself, because I thought he's likely to pull off it if he's never seen it before, which he hasn't. So, train with equipment that's like that, because it is different and we don't come across it pretty much every weekend when we're competing, do we? And then also you've got your tinsel on the equipment. So at Olympia, they put tinsel on the top of the weaves, around the jump wings, stuff like that. You can do that at home or at training, just so your dog gets used to seeing that sparkly strange thing wrapped around the equipment and doesn't get put off by it or doesn't pull off it, etc. And then another example is crufts. So you would want to be training on AstroTurf, because a lot of dogs find it slippier, for example. And if you qualified to compete in the YKC ring at Crufts, you have to take into consideration the fact that the ring is small, so maybe work more on your footwork drills, because there'll be probably more change in direction in a small space. Train on courses that are smaller, and more compact and tight turns and things like that. The strange white fencing, so, if you can, train in places with different fencing or surroundings, etc., or go to shows that you haven't been to before that may replicate that in some way. Obviously, you're never going to get the exact replica, but you can only do what you can do. And then training with a crowd as well. For example, at Crufts in the YKC ring, the crowd is pretty much on top of you. So, training, maybe entering some larger shows to compete where there's more people, for example. And yeah, that's pretty much that. So make sure you're training in accordance with what you're actually aiming to do. Number 4 is to attend workshops or training sessions that will benefit your training plan. So, for example, if you're going to the GB tryouts, then you can do things like the Dog Sports Derby winter course running days, because it's at the same venue. And then if say you've qualified for EO like I did, you can attend the EO simulator days. So they're just examples of things you can do in the lead up that, correlate with the event that you're actually preparing for. Instead of just training at your one venue or at home doing the things you normally do, you can make it a little bit more specific in those senses. Training plan as well. Oh, wait, actually, that's another one of my points. Never mind, I won't move on to that quite yet. Number 5 is to not do or change anything drastic unless you have a major training issue that needs fixing. So, if you've got an important new event in a few months, then now probably isn't the time to experiment with the unknown. And if it's not broke, don't fix it, remember. Unless you have a major training issue that will actually fully impact your results at the event, I wouldn't try something new you haven't tried before to try and make your performance a slight bit better, because it might not work. It might confuse your dog. It might confuse you. If what you're doing is working, just work on that. You don't need to change things unnecessarily. I think it's quite easy to think, oh, got this big major event, we need to do something fancy or, blah, blah, blah. But I'd say now isn't quite the time to do that. Especially with Olympia, it's at Christmas, isn't it? So you have to, well, you don't have to, I suppose, but I'm sure most people will continue training as usual in the build-up, whereas a lot of people usually have a winter break during that time where they try different things, maybe do a bit of fixing of things, improving of things. But yeah, just take into consideration that you don't want to be doing anything major unless it's really necessary at this point. The next one is invest. This is the one about the training plan. So invest in an in-person trainer or online coach if you don't already have one, because they will be able to help you create a suitable training plan specific to the event. And if you already have a trainer, make sure they're aware of the event and the time frame that you have to work with. Again, so they can help you create a training plan that is going to actually benefit you for that event. So either in person, most of you probably already have an in-person trainer, or a online coach, which is what I offer. Online coaching, so personalized training programs that's literally specific to you, your dog, and the event that you have coming up. So that's really important. Again, that's what those people are there for. They are there to help you in ways that you cannot on your own. So the next one is, if you don't usually have a regular groom, ask a friend or family member to accompany you to the event and groom for you if you think this will reduce your stress levels and make the experience easy for you. So some people might like being there on their own and doing it all by themselves. That's fine. But for example, me, I do have a regular groom, so I'm used to being groomed for, and I would probably find it a little bit tricky to do it all by myself. I know Olympia, pretty much, I think you have to have a groom. They like stand in the ring and something, don't they? There's a whole thing about the grooms holding the dogs on TV or whatever. But yeah, if you don't usually have a groom, and this is a new unfamiliar event that you're competing at and you're a little bit worried, then just ask someone to come with you. They can do things like hold your dog while you're walking courses, queue for you, etc., etc. Hold your place in the queue if you want to take your dog away, for example, if your dog gets stressed, or hold your dog in the queue while you go nearer the ringside and watch the course, for example. And not just that, you know, you don't just have a helping hand physically, but you also have someone to provide you with moral support. And that's invaluable when you're nervous, definitely. Well, for me, it is anyway. I think at most people it is. Some people might prefer to be on their own with their own thoughts and keep calmer that way, which is totally fine. But don't be afraid to ask someone to groom for you if you think you need that physical assistance and then a little bit of mental support as well. Even on like the drive down and stuff and on the morning of, it's nice to have someone there going through it with you, isn't it? Or at least I think it is. So take that into consideration in the lead up as well. And I'm sure most people will be really excited to do that. So it's an honour being a groom, isn't it? So yeah, especially if it's a big event like Crufts or Olympia, they'll be like, oh yes, I'd love to come to that big event and experience it firsthand. So don't be afraid to ask. So the next one is, don't let the fact that it's an unfamiliar event overwhelm you, as remember that the principle is exactly the same as far as doing the agility and doing what you've trained to do. So, you know, sounds cliche, but believe in yourself, your dog, your skills as a partnership and the work that you've put in. So once you're at the event, don't let the fact that it's new overwhelm you if possible. You know, stay calm. Think the principle's the same. It's agility. It's me running my dog and showing the skills that we have worked on in training. And you know you can do it. So just try and think in that positive frame of mind if possible. Keep your expectations at a reasonable level as well, okay? So that's number 9, is have reasonable expectations if it's your first time at an unfamiliar event, because unfortunately, I'd say it is quite rare that someone's very first time at an unfamiliar event is a raging success, okay? It can be. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, and I'm not trying to crush your hope or anything. Like, you can definitely do it. You can go there and win it. However, quote unquote, failing, learning and returning the next year or the next event with a fuller toolkit is common and a good thing. So think of that as a positive. You know, sometimes you have to get the first go out of the way so that you get a bit of experience, you know, firsthand how it is then, because yes, you can ask other people, but it's never quite the same as experiencing it for yourself and having that in your brain and in your memory, if that makes sense. So next year you'll come back and inevitably feel better about it because you've done it before. You know, there's nothing worse than doing something new for the first time and having anxiety about it. But you kind of just have to break the seal, if that makes sense. I know that sounds so weird, but once you've just done something for the first time, realised how it is, then the times after that are never quite the same, if that makes sense, which is a good thing. So the last point then is try to relax and enjoy the experience. So you've got to remember that the clearer your head and the calmer your composure, the more likely you and your dog are to perform at your best, okay? And I know that's super hard and it's something I still sometimes struggle with and have to remind myself and things, but it's really true. You know, the better, calmer, clearer your frame of mind is, the more likely you will handle well and cope with the pressures, and your dog will also pick up on that clarity that you have and also feel calm and able to perform. You know, if you're super stressed and worried, we've talked about this before, that the dog knows that and the dog can feel that, and you know, it could either cause your dog to be completely off its head or the opposite and be really nervous, depending on your dog. So, you know, just go in there, try and be quote unquote normal, and just enjoy it, because like I said, if it's something you've qualified for, that's amazing. You deserve to be there. You've qualified, so you're there for a reason. And not everyone gets the chance to compete at some of these events that we have to qualify for. So feel lucky, be grateful that you're there experiencing that, because it's something that not everyone can or will experience during their agility career. And just remember that, and everything else is a bonus. And then once you've done it once, you've done it. It's off your bucket list, and you can come back the next year and do it again and improve on that. And even that might not go brilliantly. So you can just keep improving year by year. It does take time, okay? Most people, like I said, it is quite common not to do fantastically on your first go at something. That's just life in general, not just in agility. And that's totally normal and human and dog. You know, we're just humans and dogs, aren't we, at the end of the day? But it's a huge positive and there's lots to take away from it. So those are my 10 tips to preparing for and competing. at an unfamiliar event, and I will be putting those tips into place for myself for Olympia. I put them in place for things like Crufts, tryouts, obviously EO, compete for GB, all the things. So yeah, follow those if you find them helpful. Try them out if you're looking for some inspiration and help. And I really do hope that they help you. And that is all for the topic this week. What am I doing in the coming week? I am at Iconics on Saturday. So the 21st, I'm at Iconics at the usual venue, obviously. So come find me if you would like. Remember, I'm always up for a chat. What else is going on? Oh, yes. Tomorrow, I'm recording the podcast episode with Laura, the sports psychologist. So that is so exciting. That will be in your ears next Wednesday. So a week today, we've got another really exciting guest episode coming up. And then... Oh, yes, another thing is I'm offering one-to-ones now properly. So if you'd like a one-to-one and you're willing to travel to where I hold the one-to-ones, which please get in touch and ask me where that is and I will tell you. I'm going to be advertising it properly shortly, but it's taking a while to just secure, where to train, venues, etc., costs. There's lots of behind the scenes things that go on when you're trying to be a trainer. But yes, if you like an in-person one-to-one with me, please do get in touch and I would love to teach you and your dog. And then if you would like an online coach, then that is what I do. And you can DM me all about that. The advert is on my social media if you want a bit more info first. But yeah, if you want a personalised training programme and regular in-depth video tutorials, and the opportunity to send me constant videos and receive constant feedback 24/7, then please do get in touch about my online coaching as well. So 2 really fun things that I offer for you there. And classes should be on their way shortly. What's difficult is finding people that are available during the day because it's impossible to find an indoor venue. Well, I'm not going to say impossible, just very hard, and it's an ongoing process. And obviously it's going to get dark at 4 very soon, isn't it? Or at least 5, at the latest 5. So there's no point starting evening classes when it's going to get dark and I've only got an outdoor space. So classes-wise, I haven't quite found enough people who are available during light hours in the day because everyone's at work to make classes out of. But if you are available in the day for classes, then also do please get in touch. My next step is to create some groups and start holding regular classes as well. So yeah, pretty much any more info that you would like from me about everything that I offer, please just DM me. Follow me on all the socials as well. You can find me at Pause in Pursuit on pretty much everything, and Summer Clark on Facebook. Obviously, I think I'm already friends and being followed by most of you already. And if you're feeling really generous today, guys, please do give the podcast a 5-star rating and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That would mean the absolute world to me. And that's pretty much everything for this week. And I will speak to you guys next Wednesday in the very exciting episode that I have with Laura, the sports psychologist. So I'm so excited for this because I'm passionate about sports psychology, having struggled with it before in the past. And it's just a really good interest of mine. I just find it really interesting. So I'm going to be learning just as much as you guys, I think, next week. But look forward to that. Don't miss it at 8 p.m. next Wednesday. I'll speak to you then, guys. Bye.